everybody? It's Kelsee Briana J, and today I'm going to be sharing with you all my curated brush collection. And this is such a fun, thought-provoking video idea, and I'm so excited to be doing it in collaboration with two beautiful ladies here on YouTube. And the first one being, hey, it's Jackeline. She reached out to me to collaborate, and she also reached out to Mel to collaborate, and I'm like, hey, why don't we all just do one big collaboration? And so that's what we are doing. She is so beautiful. If you all have not seen Hey, it's Jackeline, please go check her out. I have told her time and time again, she has the most bomb thumbnails that I've seen on this entire platform. So definitely go pay her a visit if you love luxury beauty, which I'm sure you do because you are here with me. And we're also doing this video in collaboration with my bestie, Mel Thompson, whose idea this was. Mel called me up and she said, hey, I have an idea. And I said, what is it? She was like, let's do our curated brush collections. And I'm like, that is an amazing idea because it really requires you to critically think which brushes are your favorites. If you had to do the unthinkable and start over your collection, which brushes would you select? Or if you were a beginner, what would you start with? And so you all know I got brushes. Like, your girl has brushes. So to pick out some brushes from there to create a curated collection really took some time, but also not that much time because I know which ones are my favorites, but it's really hard to think about, okay, if this is truly only going to be my collection, which brushes am I going to select for that? So kudos to Mel for coming up with such an amazing idea. I'm excited to share with you all which brushes are in my curated collection. I'm also very excited to see what brushes they selected because we did not discuss which brushes we were going to pick, nor did we give each other a number. So we don't know how many brushes are going to be in each other's collections. So I gave myself a limit. I selected 20. And that is a number that I'm comfortable with because these are all essential brushes that I have to have in my collection no matter what. And I may not use each and every brush every single day for every single makeup application, but I need to know that I have these particular brushes or at least these particular brush shapes in my collection to feel comfortable and be able to go to sleep at night. Yes, it's that serious. Y'all know it is. I'm just going to jump in, and I sort of organized it in the way that my mind works. So I am going to start off by talking about my eye area type brushes and then move on down the line to talk about face brushes. I want to know what's in your curated collection as well. If you had to start over, what are your essential, must-have, can't live without brushes that you need to have? Let me know down in the comment section, and let me know if you can guess some of the ones that I'm going to be talking about. I'm going to have links to Mel's and Jackeline's channels down in the description box, so definitely check out their videos after you're finished watching mine. So let's go ahead and get into it. Enjoy. Let's do it. So I'm going to start off with an essential brush for me, and this brush did not start out that way. This one is a concealer brush technically, but I very seldom use this as a concealer brush. I use this as a brush to apply my eye primers and to blend out my concealer around my brows and make sure everything is harmonious before I begin my eyeshadow application. This one is the Marc Jacobs The Conceal Brush, and I love this brush because it is an angled, compact brush that really allows you to move around cream type products, and I love this for applying my eyeshadow base because it acts as a finger. It actually is supposed to mimic your index finger and be able to maneuver products around just like you were using your fingers, but it's a brush so you don't have to worry about your fingers getting dirty, and that's what I love about it. It is the perfect size. It fits right on my eye area, and if I wanted to use it for concealer I would, but because my under eye is so sensitive, you all know I typically go in with a sponge. But this brush is just perfection, and it has been out of stock for quite some time on Marc Jacobs' website, but if you can still get it somewhere, I would highly recommend to do so because I think this brush is just absolutely phenomenal, and I love how functional it is and how I can find so many different purposes for this brush. So I definitely have to include this one in my curated collection. Next is a similar type brush. So if for any reason the Marc Jacobs brush disappears out of my collection, the Royal and Langnickel BOM 460 will be there to replace it, because this one is very similar to that, but it's a little bit bigger. So I use this one more so for blending out my concealer around my brows, because I love concealer around brows. I know that's something that either you really love it or you really don't type makeup stuff, but I really love it. But in order to effectively execute it, you need to have a tool that's going to allow you to really blend out that concealer, because you don't want to have halo brows and have your concealer floating around. And so to have an angled brush like this that's going to buff out that product but not remove it, because we don't have time to be doubling back, then I would go with this one, because it buffs it out and it's a little bit bigger, so it allows you to work a little bit faster than the Marc Jacobs one does. The Marc Jacobs one is more detailed, and this one is, if I need to get it done, I go in with this one. But I also will use this to blend out my eyeshadow bases, eyeshadow primers, and things of that sort, because it works for that as well. So I really love this brush, and I love how soft it is. And that's important for me because I have the most sensitive eyes, and so if something is not soft, I can't really use it. But it can't be too soft to where it's just not even working. It's not blending out anything. It has to give that right amount of love. So I love this one. So next are my flat shader brushes. And this one definitely made the cut. This one is by Rephr, and this one is the P21 flat shader brush. And I really enjoy using this brush when foiling eyeshadows or applying eyeshadows on the lid, eyeshadows that are sort of shimmery, that need something to really adhere to, that are going to be a little bit more difficult. I reach for this brush and it works it out. It is a blend of synthetic and natural bristles, and so that's what I really love about it, because you can use it for matte eyeshadows, but I feel like the magic of this brush happens when you're using it with a shimmery eyeshadow or a glittery type eyeshadow, and you really need to make sure that that product is applied flat on the lid. So I love that. This brush was originally by MAC. It was a MAC 242 brush, but Mel actually worked with Rephr to create this brush and bring it back for those of us who really love the MAC 242. So if you have an old MAC 242, it's the same one. The new MAC 242s are not the same. They're not going to have the natural bristles in addition to the synthetic hairs. They're just going to have the synthetics, so it's not the same. But Rephr has come through and solved the issue, so I always like to keep some of these in my collection because there's nothing quite like it, and no brush is going to work as hard to make an eyeshadow that is difficult work than this brush will. Next is another flat shader brush, but this one is a little bit thicker. So you guys may recall, I used to be obsessed with the MAC 239 brush. That was my absolute favorite brush. It was perfection. But I have sort of stopped using it as much because I have found a better replacement, and that one is the Sonia G Builder 3 brush. It is what the 239 brush was for me, but improved, because this brush is going to pick up that shadow and lay it down, but it also has a little bit more of a fluffiness to it to blend it out even better than the 239 did. So I like this one for eyeshadows that are unproblematic. Eyeshadow formulas that I know are going to work, something I don't have to put a lot of elbow grease into to make work for me. I reach for this and I can do my eyeshadow in 1, 2, 3. Super easy, very seamless eye looks. So I love this brush for that. I love how it lays down that product. It looks very beautiful. It gives a nice shine to it if I want it to be. If I want it to be a matte eyeshadow, it lays it down and it makes it completely opaque. I think it's a really nice functional must-have brush that everybody needs to have in their collection to do their lid shades. And I don't think that these two brushes are interchangeable. I think you need to have both of them because they both serve completely different purposes, but they have the same end goal, but they both are going to get you there 2 different ways. So I love both of my flat shaders. Next is a powder brush, and I try not to incorporate too many brushes that you cannot get your hands on, but I just don't have a dupe for this one, so I'm so sorry. This one is the Tom Ford number 11 paddle eyeshadow brush, and this one is perfection if I am wanting to apply my eyeshadow in a rush. If I just want to have a wash of color all over the lid, then I go in with this brush and it does what it does. I love this brush. It is a great size for my eyes. If you have smaller eyes, you likely are not going to love this brush as much as I do. But if you have a larger lid space and you are in a pinch for time and you need to have a shade all over, then this is the brush for you. It's going to give you a nice, beautiful wash of a color, and you can just keep it moving. So I love brushes like this for that. Or if you just want to have soft, very ethereal type makeup, go in with this brush and just sweep it on, and it just gives you a nice flutter of eyeshadow. Next, I have another discontinued brush by Tom Ford. Tom Ford discontinued their natural hair brushes. They still have the same shapes, but they are synthetic hairs. And for powder products, I prefer natural hairs. I know everybody has their differing opinions on it, but to me, natural hairs just blend out powders the most effortlessly. And so I prefer to have them when doing my makeup. This one is the number 13 brush, and it is a very beautiful, domed, but fluffy blending brush. And I love this brush to blend out my transition shade, as well as bring it on down and blend it out of my crease. Everybody is not going to be able to use this as a crease brush because it is a bit bigger, but I am, and I just feel like I can do my eyeshadows so fast, blend out that area, get those eyeshadows going, and this is just the most perfect brush for that for me. I did pull an alternative because this particular brush is not readily available anymore, and that one is the NARS number 42, which I love so much, but I don't love it as much as the Tom Ford brush because the NARS brush is just a little bit more fluffy, but it's definitely workable and it is a suitable substitution. But the Tom Ford brush is just a little bit more tapered, and so I can be just a touch more precise with it. But I love a nice fluffy crease brush to start off my eye looks and start that basis of the eye look to get it to look how I want it to look when I set up the rest of the eyeshadows. So I love these brushes and I have to have them. Next is a tapered eyeshadow blending brush, and I prefer a tapered blending brush like the Sonia G Crease Pro for whenever I'm wanting to add more color in the crease area and be a little bit more defined with it, because this one is fluffy, but it's definitely not as fluffy as the other one that I showed. And so when I want to have a little bit more sultriness, more color, more impact in a more specified area, you need to go in with a tapered blending brush, and this one is just love for me. I love this one. It's very soft and it allows me to blow out the color in the crease if I need to, but mostly I go right in that area and it just blends itself. So I love the Crease Pro by Sonia G. Next, I have some detailer eye brushes, and this one is a MAC 210 very thin eyeliner brush. This brush is so essential to me to do gel eyeliner because it is extremely thin, and the thinner the eyeliner brush is, the thinner you can apply your eyeliner. And this is very important to me because I like to have control over how I want my eyeshadow to look. And so if you have a very thin eyeliner brush when you're applying gel eyeliner, you could go in with the thinnest line. You can thicken it up as you see fit. And so that's why I really love this brush. And I've had this one for a long time. So this brush has been holding on, and as soon as I wash it, it takes its shape right back, and I love it. It's a very good brush. I think these brushes are so necessary because whenever you're doing your eyeliner, you don't want to go in with a thick line all the time. And so if you have a big thick eyeliner brush, guess what? You're always going to get a big thick line. So with this brush, you can be thick, you can be thin, you can be whatever you want to be. So I'm here for it. Next is an angled brush, and this one is by NARS, and this one is the number 47 by NARS. And I think an angled brush that is very thin is essential to have in your collection as well. So you can use this brush for a plethora of things, but I prefer to use it for concealer. A lot of people like to use angled brushes for their eyeliner. I will, but I prefer to use a brush like the 210 more so than an angled brush because I feel like I'm more so in control. And with the angled brush, you kind of got to maneuver it and turn it and flip it and dip it and dab it to go however you wanted to make it go. So I like angled brushes for a different reason. But this one is so nice. It's very soft, but it's sturdy still. And I love how it's precise with how I can use it. And it's so thin, so it's not going to slap on the products, which I think a lot of people don't pay attention to the thickness of brushes. And that's why they have a lot of products in certain areas that they don't intend for a lot of products to be in. And this brush is just tailored just right. So I'm in love with it and I have to have it in my curated collection. Next is the Rephr 03 pencil brush, which is the smallest pencil brush that I have in my collection. And I love this one because I've mentioned a few times in this video, I have very sensitive eyes. And so I have to have a very tiny brush to use on my lower lash line. Otherwise, if I get eyeshadow or any type of product in my eyes will tear up, the eye look will be ruined, and if I had my other makeup on, the other makeup will be ruined too, because once my eyes start to tear up, they don't stop. So it's best for me to have a very small brush like this one because I can apply the product and be very careful with it, and I can make sure that that product goes only where it needs to go and not in my eyeballs, because that's important for me. Same thing with the Sonia G flat definer, but this one is not as small as the Rephr 03, so if I'm in a bit of a rush or if I want to really blow out a product on my lower lash line, I go in with this brush because I can really work it in and get that nice smoky faded look that I love to have occasionally. And this brush is perfect because it's still small, but it's just a little bit bigger for me to do a little bit more. So I absolutely love this brush and I love the softness of it. And if you guys cannot tell, softness of eye brushes is a make or break deal for me. If the brush is not soft, I'm not going to be able to use it on my eyes because my eyes are very sensitive. So yeah, that's it for my eye brushes. I'm going to go ahead and move on to my face brushes now. And let's start off with a foundation brush. And this one is by BK Beauty. It is the 101 foundation brush. Love, love, love this brush. So this brush is my favorite type foundation brush because it's angled and it is compact. So you can really press in that product and you can blend it out at the same time. And that is what I love about this, because if I'm going to use a brush to apply my foundation, I need the application to be as seamless as it would be if I were using a sponge. So this brush allows me to do that, and I absolutely adore this brush because I'm going to get that very soft airbrushed like foundation application. And if I need to build up products, I can, because this brush allows me to do so. So this is a fantastic foundation brush. If you are looking for something to apply your foundation in a non-messy manner, boom! BK Beauty 101. Next is the Royal and Langnickel BOM 180, and I love it just as much as the last one. This one is a little bit different because it's domed, so I go in with this one in a circular motion and I really get an airbrushed finish for my foundation. I don't love either brush more than the other. Both of them are synthetic hair brushes, which I prefer a synthetic hair brush to apply my foundation if I'm using a brush, because it doesn't hold on to that product and it doesn't create the streaks like a natural hair brush can do sometimes. So I love that. And this one just gets that product going and you don't really lose out on that much product. So if you're looking for a brush that is going to allow you to use the minimal amount of makeup but still get a nice amount of coverage, this brush is super nice. Next, let's go into some powder brushes. Forgive me because this brush has been loved as recently as today. This one is the Royal and Langnickel BOM 31 brush, and I love a tapered powder brush. That is my jam. A tapered powder brush is so versatile. You can use it for everything on your face if you want to. You can set your entire face using it. You can use it with some bronzer. You can apply your blush. You can kind of take the tip of it and apply your highlighter if you want to. You can even use it to cook your food. I'm just kidding. Next is a domed, fluffy-esque Powder Brush, and this one is by La Mer. So I love brushes like this when I want to lightly dip into some powder and hover over my face. Just slightly hover. This is for when I don't really want to add too much more products on. I just want to lightly tap to set. I don't want to disturb the rest of the makeup underneath. I go in with this brush and it is perfect for that because it's not going to apply another layer of powder. It's just going to lightly dust the face with the powder, and that's what I love about this one. It's so light, like a fairy. So this brush is just noise, and this noise like N-I-O-C-E, noise. Love it. So let's get into the cheek area, which is the last type brushes that I have for my curated collection. And let's start off with this brush. This one is the Detail Pro by Sonia G, and that is exactly what it is. It's a pro at applying products on your face in a detailed manner. So this brush is fluffy, but it's a lot of bristles in here. And so I love this brush most specifically to apply some highlighter when I don't want to have that particular product all over the face. So if I want to have a wash of highlighter, I'll go in with another brush that I'll show you in a minute. But if I want to apply that highlighter only in a certain area, this brush is perfect for that. I can also use this brush to wash some color through the crease on my eyelid if I want to. But I do recognize that this brush is fairly large, so most people are not going to be able to do that unless you have a lot of eye real estate. But because this brush is a little bit big, I do understand that it is going to be delegated for most people's face and not their eyes. But in any event, it is an amazing brush. It is a pro, the Detail Pro. Next, I told you all I was going to show you a brush that I like to use if I want to apply a wash of highlight and I don't want to be as specific with it. And that one is the Surratt highlighter brush. And I love how soft their brushes are. They feel like air, and I've had this brush for years and it is still as soft as the day I pulled it out of the box. This brush picks up a lot, but the way that it applies it is so soft and so pretty. I love it. It is a brush that I have to have in my collection. I will also sometimes use this brush to apply some blush, but not really. This is mainly just my highlighter brush, and I love it for that. Next is my go-to blush brush, which is the Hakuhodo S110 brush, and I love this shape because it blends out that blush and I don't have to worry about it. It doesn't matter how pigmented or not pigmented the blush is that I'm using. This brush somehow always picks up the perfect amount of that product, and it surprises me every time. I'm like, brush, how did you know I only needed that much? Or brush, how did you know that that blush was gonna give me a hard time and you needed to work a little bit harder? It just knows. And I talk to my brushes like that because they're good to me, so I'm gonna be good to them. So I love this brush. It is so nice. The shape of it is beautiful. The bristles are beautiful. The handle is beautiful. You do not have to get the vermilion handle. They do have it in the regular black lacquer handle, and that one is a little bit less expensive than this one is, but look at this though. How could you see this and then just say, no, I'll just get the regular one. It's got blue on the bottom. You know, it's got gold. Yeah. It's fire. I love it. Next is the Sonia G Sculpt 2 brush, and this brush is the ish for the cheek area. So I will use this to blend out some bronzer, and that bronzer will be blended by the time I put that brush down. All you have to go is doop, boop, 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 boop. That bronzer is going to be blended out. It's the right amount of thickness to blend out cheek products. And like many of the other brushes that I showed, you can apply your blush with this if you want to. Flip it around, apply your highlighter if you want to. You can get very creative with this, and it blends out those products with ease. With ease. Amazing brush. Whew. So I have one more. Well, technically two more, but really one. And I'm going to show you what I mean. So this is the brush that really started my obsession with luxury brushes. This one is the Tom Ford bronzer brush. This one was my first foray into the luxury world of brushes. Now, I had been a MAC brush connoisseur for years before I dipped my toe into the luxury brush world, and once I did it with the Rephr brush, that was it. This brush still, to this day, holds a special place in my heart, and it just is still supreme. Like I've said a few times in this video, Rephr has since changed the hairs that they use for their brushes, and so this brush is no longer in its exact form. This one is the natural hair brush that I'm referring to. That is amazing. Now it is not the same, so I do have an alternative, which is the Rephr P22 brush, which is the exact same. It's the same brush. And this one is actually dirty because I used it today, but this brush is sexy. It just makes applying bronzer so much more enjoyable. Like, I like applying bronzer, but when I go in with this brush, I love applying bronzer. So this brush always has to be in my collection. The Rephr bronzer brush always has to be in my collection. But I'm glad to know, since I can't just readily get my hands on this Rephr bronzer brush, that Rephr got me. Rephr came through with the P22. So that is everything that I have selected to be in my curated brush collection. And I would say that it was fun, but was it though? I mean, just to think about all your brushes going away, and mind you, those are not all of my brushes. Those are just my brushes that I use regularly. I have more. But to think about starting over or really paring down your collection to just include a curated set is scary. But it really helps me put into perspective the type brushes that are really, really key for me to feel confident in my makeup application, because as an artist, you're only as good as your tools. So these tools are 40% of the reason why my makeup is as fly as it is. So 40% tools, 50% technique, 10% creativity. So just remember that. If you all want to shop any of the tools that I showed, I will have links in my description box for you all to check them out. And make sure you check out Mel's video as well as Jackeline's video, which I will have linked in the description box as well. And don't forget to let me know some of your brushes that you have in your curated brush collection. I want you guys to play along. So thank you so much for watching this video, and I look forward to reading what you guys have to say down in the comments section. And I will check you in my next video, which will be super, super soon. Smooches. Bye.